All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 5 of That's Life. I'm Bob.
And I'm Jen.
And before we get started with this week's show, let's give it a little bit of... I'm going to get better at this. We'll give it a little bit of this. All right, there's Jackson to start the show. And to say... thank you very much for those people who said really nice things on iTunes. We had 3 really great reviews that I saw yesterday.
You have to review it. You don't like it on iTunes.
That's right.
I learned some nomenclature this week around social media.
Wonderful reviews on iTunes. We have new subscribers watching on YouTube. So please keep that up. It really helps the show.
Great comments on Facebook. Don't forget about Facebook.
Really nice comments on Facebook. So continue to like us on Facebook. Continue to subscribe on YouTube. And again, the big one is the iTunes reviews. The more of those we get, the better and more successful the show is. The easier it is to share with friends. And with that, on with the program. All right. On this week's show, we have a very, very special guest. We have Lori Ann Davis. She's a certified relationship specialist and author of a brand new book, Unmasking Secrets to Unstoppable Relationships.
First of all, she's our first guest ever. So
she's our first guest.
She will always hold that position.
That's true.
Dear in our hearts.
First guest that is able to write a book.
No, not
Lori, how are you?
Oh, no.
Lori, can you hear me?
No, she's frozen. Ruh-roh. Oh, I don't know what's happening. We do really have a guest, folks. We're not lying about this. We can see her. Lori, if you can hear us, maybe drop off and drop back in. See if dialing back in helps. Well, clearly... either our relationship is already unstoppable or it's not worth making unstoppable.
Lori, are you there?
I am, but you weren't. You were frozen. So I think you're back.
We are back. Wow, that was frightening. All right, so great.
Welcome.
Thank you. Technology is great when it works.
No kidding. No kidding. Well, we were just saying you're very excited to have you on as our guest. And you and Jennifer have something very, very much in common.
Well, my parents are from North Carolina, and I grew up there. And you're living there now in Charlotte. My mom and dad were born and raised in Mount Airy, North Carolina, which is Andy Griffith's hometown. And then I went to Chapel Hill for undergrad and started my public education there. I was in kindergarten and first and second grade in the Greensboro and Lexington area before we moved away. Then I came back to college, and then I worked at dear old Carowinds for a long time. So, and had family that lived off of Tyvola Road in Charlotte. His family's still living there. Where are you?
I am in the Ballantyne area of Charlotte, but I record my radio show on Tyvola. So, yes.
Lovely. Well, Ballantyne's, and is that a newer neighborhood to give it a name? Like, because when I was back in the 80s, when I was there, late 80s, like Quail Hollow was like the whole quail thing over there off of just beyond South Park Mall. That was the big doings back then.
Okay, it's south another half an hour maybe south of South Park Mall. It probably was woods when you were there. It probably didn't exist.
Yes, so. Probably so.
It's all very new. Yeah.
Probably so. Oh, well, that's lovely. That's lovely. And it's a great part of the state. I mean, great part of the Southeast, great part of the state there. So you get the best of both worlds.
That's right. Actually, I'm looking over your shoulder, Lori. If I'm not mistaken.
Hello, Barney Fife.
Deputy Barney over your shoulder.
Yes. Can you see that? Yes. I do share an office with my husband, and those are his things. Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, you know what that's like.
Oh, yes. Well, and I can quote many a thing from Barney Fife, and you can't. So
that's true.
It's
also true.
So much in common.
So, Lori, really exciting. You have this this book out.
I do.
Is
I
it?
do.
Is this your
I'm very
first book?
excited.
And
This
it's
is my first book.
The Unmasking Secrets to Unstoppable Relationships.
Yes.
So
yes.
I guess
I have been a counselor.
All right. So you have
I've been a counselor for a long time, but this is my first book.
Very good. And how did you get into relationship counseling?
Right out of grad school, I was doing family counseling. At one point, I was a clinical supervisor for a big outpatient office, and then started having children, and so started doing things more on a volunteer basis. Moved to Charlotte and decided to start up a private practice again, and decided that really where I was most passionate about and what I wanted to do was really to work with people on their relationships. It's the undercurrent. It's that foundation of our lives. When our relationships aren't happy, we're not happy in any area of our life. And so I was lucky enough to have a very long-term, unstoppable relationship of my own. And I run into people every day who aren't happy in their relationships. And I know things that can help them. So that's what I want to do.
That's great. So how long have you been doing that?
I've been doing this a little over 28 years, and I've decided to stop at that number because I don't think I want to age anymore.
Gotcha. No. And I don't mean to pry. Let me just, and we'll get on to matters of the book. Do you find that because of your line of work and your areas of expertise, do people go to you for any matchmaking abilities?
Sometimes people will ask me if I know somebody, and I do know matchmakers that do that, but I don't actually do the matchmaking. I do work with singles that are looking for somebody. I work with people that are going through or have been through a divorce and need to get past that in order to move on. And I work with couples that aren't as happy as they would like to be in their relationship. So I work with that whole continuum. So if I happen to know two people, I might introduce them, but I don't do the actual matchmaking.
You know, I can imagine, because I have girlfriends. I feel like I have more girlfriends who are single than the guys looking for the great girl. But I have so many girlfriends, like, if you know of a great guy, and they are great girls, like they're career women, they've got it going on, they seem stable, they're not, like going to be bridezillas once they get engaged or whatever. But it's so funny because I feel like sometimes I want to shake a couple of them. I'm like, you're going after the wrong guy. Do you not see that you're going after the same type of guy over and over? And I guess that leads to my question. When you are counseling or when you do kind of work with someone, do you sometimes try to help peel back the layers to help them understand the type of person that will really make them happy versus what they're going for that they think is happiness?
Definitely. That's actually one of the first things we do is we sit down and we talk about what are your requirements in a relationship? Not what kind of guy or what kind of lady you're looking for, because that's where people fall into trouble. They have this sort of mindset of who they're looking for. And, sometimes that who they're looking for isn't really the right who. Or if you're narrowing down your field, there's a whole lot of other people that would be wonderful partners for you, but you're not giving them a chance. So one of the first things we do is we try to figure out what are those 4 or 5 core relationship requirements that you are looking for. And that's what you go out looking for, not a person per se. And so that is one of the first things we do. Yes.
Yeah. And I think I used to fall into this is I didn't know how to say, no, I don't like you, or no, it's not going to work out. I would stay in a relationship a lot longer than I should have. Not present one included.
That's nice to hear. Thank you. It's good to hear. We'll actually be, Lori, we will be coming up, I guess, in a week or so. We'll be 12 years married. We've hung in there for 12 years.
Oh,
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Very good.
And
Very good.
I like to think that we're unstoppable, but more like a steamroller is unstoppable, slow, steady.
Yeah, it's
going
to take way too much effort to slow down.
Yeah,
it's way too much effort. No, we've even talked about like how difficult it must be to try meeting someone in this world, and how much everyone really, or the large percentage, not everyone, the large percentage of folks that look to the internet to meet someone now, as opposed to really meeting someone. I can't even imagine or fathom truly what that was like when I was just I was finishing up a tour because I was an actor, and I did dabble a little bit in one of the earlier, maybe it was AOL's, was that Match.com? I don't know. It was one of them, one of the first like matching sites. And I knew quickly, I was like, nope, this is not for me. I'm out. I'm done. But I know so many folks do it. My sister found love that way. One of my real good friends met her husband on the internet. It happens.
Well, I'll tell you my story real briefly. I had a 28-year marriage. 25 of them were what I call my unstoppable relationship. It was a wonderful relationship. And you know, relationships are there for us to learn. And sometimes your partner has things to learn that don't include you. Or so after 28 years, we decided that we needed to go our separate ways. And it was really more about a path of learning, I think, that he needed to be on, as opposed to our relationship having a problem. But it ended that we just couldn't stay together. So I had 3 children. 2 of them were very young. I was in my mid-40s at the time. I had my I was in my late 40s because I had 2 children in my mid-40s. And I hadn't dated in 28 years. It had been 22 since I had last dated, and thought, really? That's how I ended up adding singles to what I do. Because what do you do when you're a counselor and you have to do something? You study and you learn, right? I was determined that I was going to go find somebody else. I wanted another great relationship. And so I turned to online dating. And through everything I learned, found my guy. We are now 4 years into this relationship, and it's going really well. But I found him on Match. He's not somebody I ever would have run into out in the world. And we're very different in so many ways. So had I not done that initial work of really knowing what I was looking for, I probably wouldn't have given him a chance. But we're a really good match. So online dating can be, when you're not out in that world, you know, like you used to be, it's not as easy to meet people sometimes. Online dating can really allow you to meet people you'd never meet otherwise.
And I think too, knowing what to look for, like the pitfalls of the true persona that someone's putting out on online dating. I'm sure because you know so much about like what you're looking for, then to be able to weed through that, I'm like, is that guy whose photo and all his little, you know, bullet points of things he's said about himself and what he's looking for, is he really telling the truth? And because that's what you always worry about. Like, wait a minute, is this guy going to show up and be scary or creepy or whatever? But I'm sure it's a fun catalog to flip through.
It is.
I mean, as a girl, I used to love flipping through it.
Yeah, it's great. So when I get to work with people, either individually or I'm starting a group class next Tuesday where I'm going to take people through this program as a group. And so I really can teach them how to navigate through that whole dating world so that they figure out what they're looking for. They know how to present themselves so that they can really attract the right people. And we really take them through sort of a step-by-step, tried and true process of how to find the right person. And also how to keep them, because, you know, we can attract somebody, but then we have to keep that person. So, you know, we help people with that.
You ever find the people, I mean, and at first I'm thinking, well, maybe this is just the way people used to meet and used to, you know, you used to meet at the job, at a social activity, at a bar.
Through friends.
Women
don't meet anybody at a bar that they would want to have a relationship
with. But
it
happened. That used to be.
But it does happen.
Social areas. And we men would lie to women all the time.
Hang on. So you saying you lied to me at some point?
No, I was, fortunately for you, I was
actually
completely oblivious.
Actually.
But I mean, but that's like, that was part of the dating ritual. You would, and maybe lie is an exaggeration, but that's exactly what you would do. You would exaggerate. You would try to present you would present the version you truly wish you were.
So wait, so you would say like, oh, I totally want kids, which means not anytime soon, but way, way down the road.
I like the idea of children. I can't imagine them in my life right now.
Or in the next 5 years.
So, and so my thought.
As her clock is ticking, by the way.
Yeah. So, you know, my initial thought is online, everyone's going to be honest, because what have you got to lose?
No,
but that's not true at all, is it? People are just as exaggerating just as much online as they do in real life.
Some people do and some people don't, just like in real life. So it is a matter of, you know, having maybe an email conversation, a phone conversation. You can learn a lot by talking to somebody on the phone for a half an hour or an hour. And then we suggest that first meeting, you want to keep it short. So you want a cup of coffee. So in case the person really turns out to be somebody you really don't want to be around, it's a cup of coffee. It's a half an hour. You can excuse yourself. And then, like you said, we teach people how to get out of those relationships quickly once they discover they're not the right one, so that you don't stay in them too long, because a lot of women do that. So you can really simply say to somebody, you know what, I've enjoyed meeting you, or if you've gone out a few times, I've enjoyed your company, but I think ultimately we're just not going to be a good match in the long run. And that's just a very nice way, and it's true, of just ending it kind of quickly and moving on to the next person until you find that right one.
No, I think too, it's and I remember finding myself in this position with an older girlfriend where you have that amazing opening to the relationship and it's really great for a period of time, and then when things go south and then desperately south, in your mind you keep going back to when it was great and going, eventually we're going to get back there. It used to be really good.
So I'm going to hang in.
So I'm just going to hang in until it, until we turn the corner and it gets good again. And that typically never happens.
No, it's hard. It depends though. I mean, it depends on the issues. It depends on the age and a lot of different variables, I think.
Yeah, it could be that you got to a point in the relationship where you discovered the parts about the two of you that were not a good match, and that's why it started to go south. And it doesn't come back up because you really aren't a good match, and no matter how much you try to make it so, you just aren't.
Yeah.
And so you want to give things enough time. You don't want to end relationships too soon. But as soon as you realize that, this person really, we don't click. We don't have the same goals, the same requirements in a relationship. So we're just always going to be, I call it paddling upstream, and it's going to be difficult. And that's when it's time to really say, there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with me. We're just not a good match. And so it's okay to go our separate ways before all the drama, before it becomes really painful. But you're right, people don't always do that.
No, I think it's harder. It's hard to be alone and to kind of admit, okay, it's okay that I'm going to be alone for a while, or, well, this guy's not going to work out either, and I'm going to be alone again, type of thing. I think that's hard on women.
Well, men and women. Lori, in your experience, I'm curious to hear what you think, because I see more and more people, friends, family, who, when a relationship ends, it's on to the next thing immediately. People don't know how to be alone anymore. People, and I understand the need for human connection, or the need for companionship, especially after something devastating, but it seems so, it seems like faster than need be.
Well, we've seen it with family members on both sides of our family, with divorce and immediately dating, like within a month or 6 weeks. And I mean, brand new people. It's not like they had it was devastating. They weren't expecting a divorce. Then the divorce happens, and you get them, like they're hurting, and you're like, just give yourself time. Like, give yourself a good 6 months to a year. Like, get right with yourself. Kind of be confident being on your own again. Like, repair yourself. Put yourself back together, because it's hurtful. I mean, it's all these feelings or whatever. And I think the same holds true. We had a family member whose partner had a devastating and terminal illness. It's kind of the same thing. Like, it's devastating. Like, just give yourself time. And there is something to, seeing someone go so quickly into can't be alone. That fear of being alone, need to be with someone right away. And then, and they're in a relationship. It's over, Johnny. That's it. They're in, and that's the one they're going to stick with.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of factors there. You do want to realize that the common denominator in all of the relationships you're in is you. So you're going to take you into the next relationship with you. So the death is a little different than a divorce, but in a divorce, you do want to take a look at, it's always two sides. Sometimes it's more one-sided than other, but you do want to take a look at what happened, what was good about the relationship that you maybe want to look for the next time, what wasn't so good, what did you learn, what could you learn about yourself? So you want to do that. In North Carolina now, there's a year from when you file for separation to when you can get divorced. So a lot of times people have had that year and they are ready to date again by the time they get divorced. And maybe even through that separation period, they want to do some casual dating because they don't want to just sit home in their house and be depressed. They want to go have dinner. They want to go have a glass of wine. They want to get used to socializing and talking and, you know, feeling like somebody else finds them attractive. So there's a whole process that you could start, not necessarily looking for the right person. Maybe you just need to go out there and put your toe in the water a little and have some casual dates. That's okay.
Yeah.
So it's going to be different, I think, for everybody as to when you're ready. I met Dave probably 2 weeks after my divorce was final, but it was years of kind of going through and getting ready. By the time I actually filed for divorce and went through it, I had healed through all of that.
Oh,
It was
sure.
years prior to that I was sort of struggling with it.
Yeah.
So I was ready. And I had dated during that separation period very briefly a couple of times. So by the time I met him, I was ready. So I think it's just different for everybody. But you had a good point in that, remember, you do take you with you. So you do want to sort of look at, am I ready for dating? Do I know what to do? And we don't have a template anymore. You talked about in the past, maybe it was so much easier. One of the things I talk about in the book is that times have changed a lot for men and women since the 60s, since the 70s. We've sort of lost that template for what a relationship looks like. The 90s, yeah. And so I realize that men and women don't understand each other a lot of times. They don't understand how to be in relationships. And so that was the whole idea of the book, is to really write this book in easy to understand terms, it's written primarily for women, but I've had men read it and say they got a lot out of it as well. But it's giving you this template for now, how to be in a relationship, how to make that relationship work, because we want them to work, but nobody teaches us. We don't go to school. We don't learn these things. You just sort of hope that you figure it out, or that maybe you had a good role model. So the book is are there a lot of other books out there? Of course, but this one is coming from my experience, my language. I have clients sometimes say to me, I wish you were on my shoulder talking to me. And so now I say, I have a book. I am. Just open it up. It's me talking to you, giving you the best advice I can give you on how to create the relationship that you really want, so that you're not frustrated, so that you get out of that vicious cycle of saying, if my partner would just change, everything would be okay. Right? You've heard that with your friends. You have to.
With my friends in my own head. I'm sorry.
In your own head.
It's true.
Right. Yeah.
Everybody says it. Everybody says it. I don't care, when you do.
Yeah, they do. So I wrote this book so somebody could pick it up, and it's going to take you out of that cycle and give you the power to tell you exactly, step by step, here's the things you can do that are going to make a big difference in your relationship. And it's not complicated. It's simple things. It's easy. It's just things that you've forgotten about, you don't know, you're not doing, So that was my whole idea, was to try to help people to have the relationships that they deserve and that they want. So hopefully you'll do that.
I want to take a little shift, because I know we've been talking about like getting into the scene and looking for the relationship, finding the relationship, and then committing to what's right for you. Okay, you're in the relationship, which is a whole nother, this is the whole other half of the enchilada that you're trying to work through. And we've gone through it. And I love one of your chapters, which is kind of dealing with, men versus women. And we do think differently.
Yes.
I think even when we know this about ourselves, it is, poor men. One, I feel really sorry for Bob, because half the time.
It's about time. Thank you.
Half the time I literally say to him, don't talk down to me, or don't say it in that condescending way. Of course I know how to plug in a phone, or of course I know how to turn the TV on with the remote, whatever. I'm totally capable. I'm this, woman hear me roar type of gal. And then the other half of the time I stand there and say, I need you to take care of me. I just want you to take care of me. The best time of my life was when I was pregnant, because that's all you cared about was my well-being. that's got to be insane for a man to navigate that on a daily basis.
It is. As the man in the room, I'll say it is. It's awful.
He says, yep, definitely. I agree.
The flip side is when the man says, I'll do whatever you want me to do. You want me to help with the housework? I'll help with housework, which is huge, by the way. And Bob will do that. And I'm like, okay, well, how come you haven't seen, because I've been running an experiment for 3 weeks, that needed to be cleaned over there. And he's like, I didn't even notice it. I'm like, how do I fix his eyeballs? I mean, we recognize these type of silly, fun things. But like,
Yes.
what's that launching pad there to work through that for our own awareness and for being able to communicate with our spouse or partner in a way that's helpful to the relationship, but getting stuff cleaned?
Well, clean that. But you said it exactly. We don't understand each other. So what happens is we think the other person's crazy. And if they would, and men and women both do it, if they would just see things the way I do, everything would be okay. So yes, I talked about in the book, it's not going to happen. We are different. We are biologically different. We think different. We want and need different things in a relationship, but nobody ever tells us that. They just don't. And so we're frustrated. A lot of times we are giving to our partner what we want, and that's the opposite thing sometimes of what they're wanting. So we really don't understand when we say, I'm trying so hard to do all of these things for you, and you're not happy. Well, it's because we don't understand how to make them happy. So we really need education. We really need somebody to say to us, here's how we think different. And here's what we need to do. Let's quit trying to change them. Let's quit hoping that they're going to wake up one day and be different.
Thank you. Thank you, Lori.
Because they're not.
Listen to her. We're awful.
The other thing is we don't want our partner to be the same, because it's that difference between masculine and feminine energy that creates that spark, that creates that passion between the two of us. If we were alike, we would be friends.
Lori, he's going to ride on this. He's going to ride this out till we're both dead. I can't change, Jen. Lori said I shouldn't change.
It's why we have a spark. I
You don't want to squelch that spark, do you?
I cannot clean that toilet. It will ruin the spark. Leverage this.
But we want to learn to understand each other so we can work together. So that we both are giving our partners what they need. Because you know what? When we're giving them not what we think they need, but what they really need, then they feel amazing. They feel wonderful. They're so in love with us that they want to give back. And if we have an understanding how to do that, then we're both doing that for each other. That's when we come up with these unstoppable relationships, these couples you see that have been married for however many years it is, but they are still so in love and so happy. It's because they have figured out how to give the other person what they need. And honestly, it's easier when you know what to do, because instead of doing all these things and failing, you're doing less really, but you're doing it successfully. So then you're not getting frustrated.
I think I have figured out my failings. So every time you want a parade for taking out the trash, I should give you the parade instead of saying, because what I always say is, why should you get a parade? It's what's expected of you.
The parade would be nice.
The parade would be nice.
Thank
and
you.
then maybe it would encourage you to do more stuff to get more parades.
That's what I keep telling you.
Oh my gosh. I've unlocked the secret.
Lori, I did highlight a passage in the book. And by the way, the book is great. And the exercises at the end of each chapter are, and as soon as no offense to you, as soon as I read any kind of book that has exercises at the end of a chapter, it brings me right back to the horrid grade school years where I'm like, oh no, I have homework that I have to do. But your exercises are great. Really, really good things.
Sorry, I got to do this. Keep talking.
Okay.
The dog is killing me. She's going to come and snooze.
Okay. So, one of the things you have here in your book, and this is differences between men and women. I have noticed that in my conversations with men, when I change topics quickly, incorporate too many topics in one conversation, or ramble on with lots of ideas, they get this far away look in their eye or give some kind of clue that I have lost their interest. So I think that may be the nicest way that say that most men are dullards. We are easily, it's just too much. And Jen and I have this conversation frequently. She is, and I find this to be true in most women, not all women. Women tend to be amazing multitaskers.
Oh my gosh, that's our middle name.
Very good at balancing. However, lose complete sight of detail in the multitasking. Whereas,
I mean, sometimes it depends, but yes, it's
This is coming from the woman who has almost daily lost her keys.
Well, yeah, because I'm doing too much multitasking.
She's doing too much
right, which is always the excuse. What happened? Well, I was doing 12 different things. Well, stop doing 12 different things. No one asked you to do them all at the same time. Whereas I'm capable of only doing one thing.
That's
and
true.
I do it pretty good. I say I'm going to do something.
It takes you all day to do it.
It may take me all day,
but you do
but eventually it gets done.
And that is that difference between men and women's brains. And that there was a book that came out talking about women's brains were more like spaghetti, that all the thoughts are, everything is all intertwined. Our feelings, our thoughts, it's all going on at the same time. Whereas men, when they think, compartmentalize. So it's like the little sections in a waffle. And that's why when we start to ramble on, change topics, do too many things at once, men get glazed over because they just aren't as good as we are. And not that one is right and one's wrong. We're just different. And so that's why we have to quit blaming each other and just admit we're different. Yeah. So men are in this one compartment.
Spaghetti and waffles.
And we didn't give them time to shift compartments. So they glaze over and go, huh?
Or just
men are
out.
Focused. Yeah.
Yeah, no, 100%. With how much dating, or at least in my mind, how much dating has changed in 30 years. Have you found that the reasons for breakups and or divorces, has that changed, or is that pretty much the same areas? Why those things are happening?
Yeah, I think it probably is the same. It used to be, again, we had this template. If you go back a generation or so, depending on your age. So for me, my parents were getting married in the late 50s, early 60s. And things were different then. We had women's roles were very different than they were now. They were much more defined. Now women are going out, and they should be. I'm very clear about that in the book, that I think women should do whatever they want to do. But the problem is we are going out and we are acting like men in the workforce all day. And I see this all the time in women dating and women in their relationships. They come home and they still have that same role going on. So they're still acting in what I call that masculine energy, that doing, problem solving. And that's not good. It's not good for them, and it's not good for the relationships. So I'm sorry, I have to clear my throat. Allergies in Charlotte right now are not good. And so women really have to find a way to be able to tap back in when they come home, when they're with their partner during that special time that they have together. So it's only a part of the day, but to tap back into that feminine energy, because it really is that difference between men and women. Like I said, we can't change it. It is who we are. We need to be men and women when we're in that relationship mode with each other. So I do think sometimes relationships are breaking up now, or men and women are having trouble getting together because we have lost touch with how to do that. And when I'm at singles events, sometimes I'll have 50 singles there, and they agree with me. It's, this isn't just my thinking. Lots of people out there agree that the men are confused. They don't know what to do because it seems like they're being told they're wrong no matter what they do. And the women are being very assertive and very aggressive with the men and not allowing the men to really be of service to them and to be men in that aspect. And so we kind of have to work on that. It's easier to get divorced now too.
That's
than it
true.
Used to be.
And I think going back to what you said originally, like, look, the motivation in the 50s and 60s, women, I think, accepted a relationship in different capacities because there weren't as many women going into the workforce. And you're like, if a man is good to me, and I used to hear this in the South all the time, well, do you love him? Oh, he's good to me,
Right.
and it's a very kind of endearing thing because women, we're the fairer sex in so many ways. Although now when you see women graduating from, these academies, these military academies, and they're doing everything the men are, we are somewhat physically as capable as well. And I think we've shown that, but we are as capable in the workforce. And I think that's part of it if you're doing that. But I think there's also kind of this piece of, and I used to be an assistant. I would manage, and it was men most of the time, but I was managing calendars for everyone else all day long. I was managing everyone else's schedule and the office schedule and all these different things. And when I came home, to have Bob sometimes look at me and like, I need you to handle the home schedule. And I was like, it's one more set of calendaring and scheduling. Like, I need you to help me now because I've done this all day. I can't handle looking after one more man. You're going to have to look after yourself, hon. Like take the reins. And he did once we kind of articulated that, sometimes a little bit more frustratingly, I'm sure, than others. And it is bringing the work home. I don't care what role it is. Like being able to drop whatever that work role is for men or for women and then come home. I mean, I think it's as equally detrimental for men to come home and say like, well, I'm done. And now, because I joke with Bob, when I go out on a business trip and I come back, he's great, by the way, while I'm gone. I mean, it's not pristine, but the child is fed and the homework's done. And
have yet to lose the child or burn the house down.
That's right. Everything is there. The animals are still alive.
Yep.
Nothing's broken. So it's pretty good. Those are good things. But I always
set the
joke.
bar really low, Lori. You set the bar really low. Everyone's still alive? Good job.
You were good. But the funny thing is, I see it wash over him when I walk in. And I don't care if I've been on a red eye or whatever. It is literally, oh, thank God she's back. I don't have to do anything now. Or I can sit on the sofa for 6 hours because Jen will take care of everything. And she'll kind of bustle around and do all the stuff. And, we've had to have that conversation of, I know I just got in, and the same for you. I know you just walked in. And there's got to be kind of a give and take of like, what can I do to help kind of ease you back into the home life, ease you back into the relationship before you start kind of grabbing hold of your responsibilities. And the same holds true, I think, when he comes out of writing and heavily, my first thing is, oh my God, you've been writing or you've been holed up in your office for 8 hours. I need you now. And they need that break too. They need that break.
Yes.
Of like, hang on. And he'll say to me, I just need 1 hour where I can sit and kind of do my thing. You're welcome to come and be a part of it if you want, but I'm not doing anything for an hour,
Yes.
And so I think it's kind of recognizing both people need that.
Yes, it is. And I talk in the book about the differences between men and women. So when men come home, we'll start there since that was the last thing you talked about. They do need that time to sort of change compartments. And so they do need a little time. And I will see what happens frequently is women attack them the second they get in the door. And then they're mad because
not the kind of attacking that we would prefer.
Not the kind you want. No.
Never. No.
So if she would understand that men really do need a little downtime, it's that compartmentalizing for them. Give them that little bit of time. And then, in the book, I kind of joke, but I say, then give them a Reader's Digest version of what happened in the day and what you need from them so that they can be there and be present for you, but understanding their way of thinking and their way of communicating. So you're meeting them where they're at. Then we want men to understand that we need, when we get back together, we need some of their undivided time. So when he walks in the door, if he kind of says, I'm going to be right with you, I just need to go get a shower, or I just need this. And then, you know what? I am all yours. And he realizes that, comes to her and says, now, how was your day? Looks her in the eye and gives her some time to really tell him about that. If we would Just that simple piece, and that's just one tiny example. But if we would do that for each other, understanding that we both need that from each other, then we could move forward from that. And then we could get to the last chapter of the book so that you're getting that passionate intimacy that you're wanting. But we need to understand that about each other, and both be willing to give that to each other in the way our partner needs it, not the way we need it. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Totally.
no, absolutely.
Absolutely.
And I mean, we have started, it happens more during the school year, I think, when you're just busy, and you know what it's like when you have kids and it's all kind of nutty from like 5:15 in the house on for like 3 hours. Then it slows up again. But you know, I'll come bustling in and like a tornado, and there's stuff going on, and Bob's great. He does the dinners during the week, and he'll have like, you know, a great meal, but it's in the throes of things. And oftentimes I'll tap him and just make him stop and turn. And we literally just hug each other and kind of shut out the world. Although the kid is over there yelling at us about how gross we are, but just kind of taking that moment, because we forget for the physical contact, even to start that world. We just forget that. I think that's one of the most important things. And then Bob's doing something, I swear, he's not fessing up, but I swear he's got like a little schedule. But he has started like randomly texting me about the same time every day, but it's always once a day. I'll get an "I love you," and I'm always like, "What have you done?" Or I get, I'm thinking about you. I know.
Supposed to be doing it.
He read the book.
He's a professional.
You're supposed to do that.
I'm supposed to be doing no, and I had mentioned that. No, this is absolutely true.
You've just started it though recently, like what,
I
2
started
3
about
weeks ago?
Yeah, maybe a month ago. And I don't know what
it's such a surprise. I do love it. I haven't reciprocated,
Yes.
accepted. Well, I don't ever. No, I shouldn't say that. I never initiate it. I reciprocate every time.
I'm gonna let the cat out of the bag because I saw. So there's this app, Lori, that I'm sure has malicious intent when it was originally invented. But I like the thought behind it so much that I sort of developed my own methodology.
Aww.
But there's this, and I don't know that I'm giving these guys any credit, but there's this app called the Bro app, which already the idea that it's anything called the Bro
You're
app.
covering each other's booties.
Now but what it does is you put in numbers of, I guess, the phone numbers of women, or one woman in particular.
Whoa, what?
And then you set, it's true.
You're totally covering each other's ass so y'all don't get in trouble as you cater to all your
not at
women.
all, not at all. You put in the name of the number of the person that you're trying to reach out to, and then you set a schedule, and it will send on that schedule a nice text message to that person.
Wait, you're not like keying it in at every day at 3:22?
Not the way the app works. No, the app does it on its own.
So you don't have to think about it.
It will let you know. It will let you know. And I like the idea so much. And I looked at the app. I downloaded it for a second, but I like the idea so much because honestly, it's
classic.
This is
I'm going to automate my feelings so I don't have to really tell her all the time, but she'll think that I care.
No, it's not. That's not true.
I'm teasing.
Truth of it is, I do love you. I do want to tell you that I love you. A day goes by frequently when I don't even remember to, change my pants. So if I don't put down somewhere,
that's true. I get it.
So I put a little, very easy to do in Google reminder, 3:00, and my Google reminder comes up and it says, "I love you." And when I see that, it reminds me, if I haven't spoken to you in a while, drop you a line.
Yeah.
And I like that idea.
Yeah.
Plus, it gets
That's a great idea.
See,
Thank
look
you.
at the joys and the effects of technology.
There you go. No, and you have in your book Random Acts of Kindness, which I really like because that absolutely spoke to what I was trying to accomplish there.
What are the other random acts of kindness that Bob could do for me?
Specifically for you.
No,
well,
but what are other things that couples can do? I know we're gonna obviously we're gonna share the book, but I would just like to hear from her.
Yeah, flirting is one of them. We flirt and we give each other all this attention and we're playful when we date, but then we get busy in life and we forget to flirt.
That's
we
right.
forget to hold hands. We forget to kiss as often as we used to. We forget to do the things that really bonded us together in the first place, that would keep our relationship bonded, would keep it strong, would keep it alive. We don't do those things. We don't say thank you. And that includes taking out the trash. Instead of saying, you know, oh, you finally took it out, it takes as much effort to say, thank you so much for taking out the trash. You feel good because you're focusing on what you like. He feels good because he feels like, oh, she noticed that I took out the trash. So it's the same way with all those little random acts, whether it's flirting, whether it's, you know, when you pass by each other, do you pat each other on the butt or give each other a kiss on the cheek, or little things that you used to do?
Yeah.
I
need to
stop. The hand, it's like hands are enough for us. We never like
enough for you.
Well, I know what I mean. I mean, we end up stopping there. We, you know, because
there's a child in the room.
Because there's a child in it.
Frequently, there's a child in the room.
No, but we don't.
But you can kiss her neck as she's doing the dishes, and the child can see that. It's good for
you to do dishes.
Yeah, that would.
You could reach up behind her and give her a hug. There are things you can do that really you want your child to see that. You want them to learn what a loving relationship looks like. You don't want them to see you doing appropriate things, but there's a lot of things you can do that are appropriate that actually you're teaching them now how to be in a relationship. If they don't ever see any of that, they won't do it when they grow up.
No, we have frequently said to Jackson, stop talking for a minute. We're hugging each other. Like, don't interrupt.
Yes.
Absolutely. No, it's good. And it's, you know, in your last chapter, you talk about adding intimacy back into your life. And I would say from personal experience, that is the one area.
The biggest challenge.
That is the biggest challenge for us. I mean, I would venture to say there have been weeks that have gone by without us kissing. And I haven't, it's not that I forget about it, or it's not I feel like it's missing in the moment. After a while, it's like, oh, it'll happen. And then you're like, wow, we haven't done that in a crazy long time.
Yeah. It's not like you're making the effort not to do it. And it's not like you're disgruntled that it's missing. But when it does happen, then you're like, wow, when was the last time that happened?
Right. And that's kissing. So you can imagine what everything else is.
Hey. It's not very nice.
Y'all are so brave to be doing this as a couple. But what people don't realize is that when we do have that physical contact, and it could be something just as much as a 10, 15-second kiss, you know, something that we hold a little longer, it starts those hormones going. Those hormones are bonding hormones. They make us feel good. They connect us to each other. So then we notice that you took out the trash more. We notice that you look nice. We feel better about you. We communicate better. All of our relationships, all the aspects are better. So it's the first thing that goes sometimes, but really it's sort of the glue that bonds the relationship together. And it is very important. And the key is the less, we're going to use the word sex. So the less sex you have, the less you want to have it. The more sex you have, the more you want to. So that's how people get into these sort of ruts of going, how long has it been? You know, I talk to couples who say, we save that for special occasions. And I'm like, no.
That never happened.
No.
I know.
Because you're already pooped by the end of New Year's Eve to go and have sex.
I have a bottle of champagne I've been saving in the refrigerator for a special occasion. It's been in there since 1998.
Yes. So don't save it for a special occasion.
That's right.
We do realize that you're tired. And so, you know, in the book, when I talk about that, I would like you to have some physical contact daily. You know, I do realize we get tired. So it can be something as simple as if you have a favorite TV show that you like to watch, don't sit on two separate chairs. Sit next to each other. Put your arms around each other. Hold hands. Cuddle. You know, or spend 5 minutes at the end of the day kissing. Because what's going to happen is when you start to add that back to your relationship, you're going to very quickly miss that you don't do it on the days you don't. And you're also going to discover you're not as tired as you thought you were, because the hormones will get going. And all of a sudden, when all you did was planned on kissing, you're going to want to do more. And then before you know it, you're going to have a lot more intimacy in your relationship. And you're going to realize how great it is for you in all areas. It reduces stress. It's physical activity. It makes you feel better. It, lowers your cortisol levels, which are your stress hormones. I mean, we could go on and on by all the parts that are good. The bottom line is you're going to be happier with each other, and you're going to be happier in general. We just, again, that's something else nobody teaches us. People tell you when you're young why you shouldn't have sex, but once you get married, nobody really talks a whole lot about why you should, right?
Yeah.
You skip that part.
I'm going to leverage the sex now for cleaning the house. I need the energy to clean the house. There's a lot. The place needs to be clean. We're going to have sex. I need
a lot of energy to fill that tank.
Don't you want me to stay alive?
Yeah, because it keeps your stress levels down. That's a great way to keep it organic, honey.
Thank you.
Nice. Hey, I do have a question. You've been talking about hormones, and I had an old boyfriend that used to swear by this. Do men have cycles like women have monthly cycles? Because, there are times, we may have lost her. Oh, no, there she is. Did you hear my question, Lori?
I heard your question. Yeah, you didn't go anywhere. I guess I just did.
Okay. No, so I guess I'm curious, women have their cycles, and it does affect, Bob, I can tell him, sometimes I'm like, don't touch me. I just can't be touched right now. And I love you, but I can't be touched right now, but I love you. And it's just whatever's going on with us. And I get that. But do men have cycles?
Men do, and I'm not sure how much of it is. I do probably believe that their hormones probably do fluctuate some. I would have to do more research. Honestly, I haven't done a lot of research into that. But I do know that men have sort of emotional cycles that they go through. And I remember the first time I started reading about this, it was like this big light bulb went off.
Women don't think that men really have that many levels
now I
of
get
emotion.
It. See if you notice this, that men, when we feel so close to them and they're telling us they love us and we feel bonded and emotionally we feel closer than we've ever felt, then all of a sudden we notice that they kind of are more distant. They've sort of pulled away. Maybe they're spending more time in their man cave or for a little while. That is a cycle that men do go through. They will feel very close to us, and then it's like a rubber band is how I read about it, and it was described, and it made perfect sense. They sort of need to pull back a little bit, spend a little time to themselves, and then all of a sudden they miss us, and they feel really close to us again. Now, what happens, and I wrote a blog about this not too long ago, what happens is when they come back, we're mad. We're mad because where were you? I felt so close to you. Everything was perfect.
Yep.
You disappeared. Now you've come back and you're all lovey, and I'm like mad, so I send you away. And the guys are going, what the crap happened? I don't understand. Why are you mad? So they pull away even further. We get madder, and it's a vicious cycle. Whereas if women just understood that sometimes men need to do that, if we just give them that space, they come back much faster. And then it's kind of fun, because then when they come back, they're so happy to see us. And it's great. And if we just understood that there is sort of like women go through some cycles where they have days where they're just at the bottom of the barrel, and no matter what you do, it's not going to be okay. And you just sort of have to let us be there for a day. Tomorrow we'll feel better. Don't try to fix it. Just give us a big hug. So men and women, when it comes to that, definitely do both go through cycles. But again, it's one of those other things nobody talks to us about.
No, I don't think. Well, I don't know the retreat that Bob does. I'm going to look out for that and then not be mad.
But it also implies, I like it. It makes sense to me on a esoteric level. But as far as like a guy, that's like something that we would never think about.
Like, I don't analyze like, I'm at this point in my cycle.
Before you didn't want to talk to me. It's like, well, I was doing something. I go, now you do. Yeah. I do.
Well, but what you do say to me, and you've uttered this, I'm like, are you mad at me? Have I done something that I clearly don't know that I've done?
Oh, you said that to me?
No, you said that to me.
Well, yeah.
Because I guarantee you that's on the end of the, hey, you were cuddly with me, now
Right.
you went away, and now you're mad when I came back. Which is why that's what prompted the, are you mad at me? Like, what did I do?
Yeah, well, because I always feel like I've done something. There must have been something I've done that hasn't registered with me yet. So I've gotten good over the years, Laura, of just having it out, going, you need to spell it out. What have I done wrong so I can apologize?
At least we're talking about it.
We are.
I mean, that's, and I credit that to Bob, because he was, he's younger than I am by 8 years. And I had dated enough guys by the time he and I were dating that, you know, if there was a
we don't need to get into numbers.
No, but I mean, if there was a big hullabaloo, you both went off and went with your friends, and each of you went to a different bar and, you know, groused about the other one and how this might not be the right relationship. And instead, after we both kind of went away, or I went for a walk and came back and I saw him getting ready. This was it. I'll never forget this. So we hadn't been living together long. I went for a walk. I was really mad. Like, I got up out of dinner and left. I was so mad. And came back, and he was getting ready. And I was like, you know, are you just going to go out? Is that what's happening here? Because I was like, oh, duh, this is so predictable. He was like, no, I was going to find you because we need to talk about this. And I was like, I mean, literally the brakes and the screeching, everything. I was like, what? And then I knew that something was different.
You found out in that moment.
Kudos to you,
that I was amazing.
Yeah. He tells me all the time, I'm so damn lucky. And
you are.
I mean, yeah.
Well, and the truth be told, too, in that moment, I had just moved, and I really wasn't interested in moving again.
Oh, so you just we'd moved in together.
We had moved in together.
And it's really hard to find an apartment in New York City.
I'm going to have to find this woman and figure this out, because I do not want to have to move again.
New York City sucks when you need to find an apartment.
Yeah.
So if you'd lived out west or something, Midwest, yeah, or in the South,
Sure,
you might not be together now. From what I can tell, I think you're both lucky to have each other. So
I think
we are. We're very, very fortunate.
But you bring up so many great points. I mean, and I think the other thing, and you mentioned it, is like it's a cycle, but throughout these relationships, to keep it unstoppable, it is work. It's never going to not be work.
No.
And I mean, like we are not empty nesters yet. Some of my high school classmates are getting to that point. I see that on Facebook, the empty nester thing. It's a whole nother realm of dealing with each other again without other bodies in the house. And what is that? I'll never forget my great aunt, and I loved seeing she and my great uncle together. And it was just so interesting watching their relationship. And yet she was panicked when he was getting ready to retire, because it was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with him in the house? Like, he can't stay here all day long. He will drive me nuts. That was her thing. That was her office, But I mean, I think folks and stuff do go through that.
So, Lori, thank you very, very much for coming on the show. This has been fantastic. Folks, you can find Lori Ann Davis's book, The Unmasking Secrets to Unstoppable Relationships. It is available on Amazon. Also, Lori, you've got an amazing website. There it is. There's the book.
That's what it looks like.
It's a wonderful read.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's a quick read. It's basic stuff that sometimes you just don't think about. It's really good reminders.
Stuff that's not so basic because we don't take the time to read it and kind of pause.
Absolutely. And also, you've got a wonderful website, LoriAnnDavis.relationshipcoach.org, that has so much wonderful information.
So if things don't work out for us, we're going to come to you.
Yeah, we'll be contacting you immediately. Now, for me,
the good work, and I'm writing another book. I've started another book for men. So this one I wrote primarily for women. So I am started another one for men, teaching men how to understand women better. So you got to be fair. So
now
pretty soon we'll have that one.
the man's book is more like a pamphlet, right? It's like 5 words to a page.
It's going to be bullet points. Yes, it's
That's
going
all
to be
we need.
ideas in
Bullet
different
points.
sections, and it's going to be bullet points. Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
You've got
like
it.
the app, kind of. Yes.
You've got it. You've got it. All right,
I
Lori.
do understand.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much. Thank you for having us. Thank you for coming on the show, and we wish you well. Hopefully, we'll talk to you in the not too distant future.
Take care.
Sounds
Thanks
good.
again.